Hello. 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 Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Audible, sir.
Audible. Okay. 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 Hi. Hi. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Chaitra ji, good evening. Only Pratibha is there. Pratibha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hi, sir.
I think we should start. We should start with Chirag, I think. Then, hello, good evening. Chaitra ji.
Hi, sir.
Hi. 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 Today, I think we have three people. One is Isa and second is Chirag and Pratibha. Pratibha once, yes, I think she presented last time. Only we'll start with these two people, then we'll go to the Pratibha, what she has changed or anything. You can guide her.
Sure, sir.
Arvind.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Dr. Natasha.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, doctor.
Sir, I have a meeting at 9 o'clock, sir.
I think we should finish by 9 o'clock. Otherwise,
I have
no,
one more at 9.
no, it's all right. You can, because if we continue, then if we stay, can go back go by 9 o'clock. No problem. No problem.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
I hope I'm not asleep by 9. I don't know, 9 post 9 meetings are very difficult, sir. I don't know how you have it.
yeah, I know. It's difficult for you. Now, workload is increased now.
Yes, sir. That's why OPDs are busy, no?
Yeah, it's busy. Not getting free. Isha, are you there? Isha?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I think let us see. I mean, Dr. Chirag will start first, then your presentation, then Pratibha. Right? We'll go in sequence. I think 3 will be sufficient for us to discuss. And if anybody prepares other 4, we are given other 4 also. They are not prepared yet. The prepare will discuss in the next webinar, or something new we will discuss in the next webinar. I think we'll go change the format. Dr. Chaitra, Salu, should you change the format? You're mute.
Yes, sir. I think we should change a little bit. Let's see how it goes today, sir, and then take a call.
Yeah. I think that's the better. I think.
We'll see today and then.
I think another 2 minutes to go. I think Santosh, very Santosh. Sujata, are you there? Sujata?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Great. It's very Sabyasachi and Ankitar mধ্যে না যাই পারে most likely. Absolutely. Today I have taken the second dose of vaccine, Covishield.
I took yesterday, sir. Today I'm a little unwell.
Nothing is there. Covishield or Covaxin? Which one?
Covishield, sir.
Covishield, nothing is happening. Covishield. It's absolutely
Right,
fine.
sir. Last time also I had, today also I had.
कुछ नहीं होता है.
No, sir. One of my classmates, she had 3 days of rigors and chills after Covishield. For the, I mean, the first dose. Second dose, I don't, I'm not aware what.
We didn't have. I think our hospital, everybody is gone. All of us returned. Nothing. First dose, nothing happened, and second dose also today, nothing happened. I don't know if the individual something may be there, but so some people say that the no reaction means no vaccine effects. Either reaction, either vaccine effect is there. So Chaitra has got the vaccine effect.
Nice of you to mention during the MC meeting, sir, about our program.
Yeah. Thank you. And
nice
here,
of you.
that Namrata also responded very well, Very happy.
It was nice. I was also there in that meeting.
It's a great effort. Now you are coming means every 15 days, you're coming for 1 hour. It's really good for us. No, who can tell me who can spare this much time always, having so much work, and definitely we are grateful to both Dr. Natasha and yourself because they are finding some time. They are all, it is our interest. I don't think it's your interest, rather. I would say that.
No, sir, but it's for the good. No, we're doing something for students. I'm sure they'll benefit.
Absolutely right. Very Chirag. Isa, where is Chirag? I didn't find Chirag. Where is Santosh even? I'll call the Santosh.
So Chirag is joined.
Chirag, very good, good. Hello, Dr. Chirag.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Are you ready with your presentation?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Very good, excellent. So we'll start with you only. Okay. Let me call Dr. Santosh first.
So Dr. Sabyasachi Patnaik is also not there.
I'm calling him. Jankar. Okay. So good.
नमस्कार.
Namaskar. देखा संतोष आसियल. Santosh, 3 minutes late.
I was trying to join in my laptop. Somehow the connection is
अच्छा, okay. Sabyasachi join को start कर. हाँ, समस्त आश्चर्य. We are waiting for you only.
Yes, you can start.
अशोक को कह दो, अशोक को डाक दो. अशोक, नमस्कार. अशोक join करा था. ମୁଁ କହିଲି ସନ୍ତୋଷ କହିଲି ସେ ଅଶୋକ ଜି ରହୁଛି 9ଟା ବାଜି ଯାଉଛି. I know. Heavy work. Okay. How? Last time. Okay. Right. बुझिला संतोष. अशोक कला busy. Sabyasachi ଆସିଲେ start କରିଦେବା. Sabyasachi କହିଲା join କରୁଛି.
ଆଜ୍ଞା.
Dr. Dasarathi Bhabatan is really sincere. Good evening, sir. Dr. Dasarathi, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, you are really great. Sir. Santosh, shall we start? Santosh.
ସବ୍ୟସାଚୀ ଆସିଲାଣି କି?
Sabyasachi join କରୁଛି କହିଲା ତ ମତେ. Sir, Sabyasachi, I'm not seeing him.
2 minute wait କରନ୍ତୁ ତ start କରିଦବା. 2 minute.
Okay. Right. Okay. Then Kaila.
We can start, sir.
Hmm?
We can start.
Chaitra is
Joined or not, Chaitra?
Chaitra join kartila je. Chaitra Katiala. Chaitra Katiala.
Chaitra also ଆସିବ.
She will come definitely.
ଆପଣ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ।
हाँ ମୁଁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦେଇଛି ସେଟା next I think ପିଲାମାନେ ସେ ଅନ୍ୟ ତିନିଟା ପିଲା ବି ଆସିନାହାନ୍ତି ଯେ ସେଗୁଡାକ ଡକ୍ଟର ରୂପା ଡକ୍ଟର ସବା କାହାନ୍ତି ସବୁ ଡକ୍ଟର ସବା ଗୋପେଶ୍ୱରୀ
Tuesday ରୁ Wednesday ହେଇଯିବାରୁ confusion ହେଇଥାଇପାରେ।
maybe that may be right. Tuesday କାଲି actually ସରସ୍ୱତୀ ପୂଜା ଥିଲା ତ ମୁଁ ଖାଲି
ମୁଁ
ସବୁ students
ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ କହୁଥିଲି ସରସ୍ୱତୀ ପୂଜା ହଉ ଯାହା ହଉ ଇଭିନିଂ ରେ ନା।
So Satyajay, some students actually this is a students program and students will be busy set time
Student ଆଉ ସାର୍ କଣ ସେ ସ୍କୁଲ ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ ଅଛନ୍ତି?
It is for them. It is for the students. They should take initiative rather than we. So it's okay. कौन करेगा?
No, ଆମର ଯୋଉମାନେ ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟ କରିବା କଥା ସେମାନେ ଆସିଲେଣି ତ?
They say Ashchandra. Yes, they are there. They are here.
Then we can start.
Yeah. Somi Baisakhi and so Dr. Somi, Dr. Baisakhi, you must have said something today. Somi.
Yes, sir.
Baisakhi
Yes,
also, Baisakhi, you have to say, you have to give some comments, you have to tell something in this. Don't be silent partner in this. Right?
Yes, sir.
You have to discuss the things, then only it will come out. So, no doubt it's for first years, but second also take active part. Right? So I think
even for us also like these
right.
these classes are really useful, sir.
Very good, excellent. And you pass on the message to all of the students. All your colleagues, you have to inform them that they should join.
Sure, sir.
Inform them, for you people only. So I think Santosh will start. Is it already 10 minutes past 8?
We should start.
Vishwajit, Prabhaji, it is the. Are we live? Vishwa.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Are we live now? I'll give you a countdown. Will you give a countdown?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah, please give the countdown. Yeah.
Just 5,
Yes.
4,
Mhm.
3,
Mhm.
2, 1. Please start, sir.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Once again, we are back to our RP program. It's a research and publication initiative, mostly for the residents, not the junior resident. I won't say first year. It's all the residents, because they have to learn a lot from these webinars. We have already finished 12 webinars. This is the 13th webinar. And as usual, we got experts. Our experts are Dr. Natasha, Dr. Arvind, Dr. Chaitra, and Dr. Sabyasachi. They are the experts in this program. So along with me, our advisors, Dr. Ashok and Dr. Srikant Sahu, they will be joining shortly. And we got a good number of panelists, including Dr. Sujata already joined, and a lot of enthusiastic faculty members from different medical colleges also with us. And above all, as I told you, we are the senior most. Dr. Dasarathi Mahapatra is always very sincere. I think I've seen him all the 13 webinars. So really, it's a great sir. So in these few words, I welcome you once again. And we have today, as discussed earlier also, this is mostly it will be by the first year residents. They will discuss the synopsis and they will present the synopsis, and our experts, they will give the comments, how to write and how to change everything. And of course, we have got second year post years also. At any moment, they can interfere, they can intercept, and they can talk also in this webinar. So which I won't take much time now. I welcome once again all the participants to this webinar. So it's over to Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, our mentor of this program. Dr. Santosh.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good evening, all of you.
Submission
I,
is joined.
I think you have all. Professor Subodhi has already described about the main aim of the program, and as we are already 15 minutes late, I think we should directly go for the
Sir, sir.
presentation.
Sir, ఈ వెబినార్ వచ్చి సరిపోతారు. Sir. Well,
Can you have the first presentation?
yeah, I think Dr. Chirag first, Dr. Isa second, and Dr. Pratya will be last. So Dr. Chirag, now it's over to you.
Can I share
Before
my
that,
screen?
Dr. Chaitra, you would like to say something? Dr. Chaitra.
No, sir. I think let Chirag present, then we can go straight ahead with the discussion.
Right.
Go ahead, Chirag.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
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 Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Chirag Chheda, primary DNB first year at LV Prasad Eye Institute.
Where
I'll
are
be
you, Chirag? We
presenting-
can't see you.
Okay, once. Yes. Am I visible?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll be presenting my thesis protocol under the guidance of Dr. Tapas Ranjan Padi. The title of my protocol is Fundus Biomarkers Predictive of Retinopathy in Infants at Risk of Developing Retinopathy of Prematurity. Retinopathy of prematurity is a vision-threatening disease associated with abnormal retinal vascular development that occurs in babies born premature or underweight. The immature retinas of premature neonates are susceptible to insults that disrupt neovascular growth, leading to ROP. It occurs in two phases. In phase 1, there is suppression of growth factors due to hyperoxia and loss of maternal-fetal interaction, which results in retinal vascularization. In phase 2, subsequently, the increasingly metabolically active yet poorly vascularized retina becomes hypoxic, stimulating growth factor-induced vasoproliferation, which can cause retinal detachment. This is the international classification of ROP, which divides the retina into 3 zones as shown in the figure. There are 5 stages of ROP, which ranges from stage 1, which is the demarcation line, stage 2, which is ridge formation, stage 3, ridge with extra retrovascular proliferation, stage 4 is partial retinal detachment, 4A is extrafoveal, and in 4B it includes the fovea, and stage 5 is total retinal detachment. Coming to review of literature, with
Chirag,
advancement.
just hold on 1 second. Can the host please mute the people who are not speaking? There's a lot of background noise. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Coming to review of literature, with advancement and availability of essential life-saving neonatal care, smaller babies are surviving even in remote areas. Unfortunately, the care to address collateral health issues has not matched the life-saving technologies. As a result, we may see surprising patterns of ROP that can't be explained by our existing knowledge on its pathogenesis. This includes aggressive post-AP ROP, half-zone ROP, hybrid ROP, term and near-term baby retinopathy, etc. There are studies on ROP or oxygen-induced retinopathy on animal models, but none can completely be similar to what is happening in human subjects. The present study is an attempt to explore the fundus changes highly predictive of development of ROP by serially examining the fundus of infants at risk of developing ROP from birth till the disease development or complete maturation of the retina. Rationale of study. The profile and trend of ROP has seen ocean changes over years since it was first described in 1940s. Reports mention that babies showing atypical forms of ROP similar to oxygen-induced retinopathy seen in animal models. Similarly, it is not uncommon to see AP-ROP in bigger and older babies and even earlier than 2 weeks after birth. Reason for all these atypical observations necessitates one to relook the pathogenesis of ROP. Most of the times, we see babies at a time when they are about to or have already developed the disease. We hope that serial fundus imaging of the babies from birth till disease development can give us important clues to re-explore the natural history and different fundus biomarkers in ROP. Objectives of the study are prospective evaluation of fundus of babies at risk of ROP within 2 weeks of birth till development of retinopathy and a variable period thereafter up to 6 weeks. To explore the relationship, if any, between various retinal changes with the development of ROP. Study location and duration. This study will be conducted at the Vitro-Retinal Services LV Prasad Eye Hospital, Bhubaneswar, and a few neonatal intensive care units at Bhubaneswar. The duration will be for 18 months. The study will be a
Hello, I'm
prospective.
John Najibiri, the creator.
The study will be a prospective observational study. The inclusion criteria is babies at risk of ROP as per Indian guidelines. Babies with birth weight 2 kgs or less and or gestational age 34 weeks or less. Bigger and older babies, if they have ROP risk factors like prolonged mechanical ventilation, unmonitored oxygen supplementation, multiple blood transfusions, sepsis, frequent apnea, and respiratory distress. Babies whom a pediatrician with ample knowledge of ROP has high index of suspicion of ROP. Parents' consent for serial retinal imaging of eyes of these babies from birth till development of ROP should be taken. Exclusion criteria would be eyes with corneal and lenticular opacities or external ocular deformities that prevent adequate fundus imaging. Babies with inadequate or doubtful birth details, including gestational age and birth weight. Babies too sick to undergo fundus imaging with pediatric retinal imaging device, as determined by the treating neonatologist. Babies with follow-up inadequate for making a meaningful conclusion, and babies developing another non-ROP retinal pathology during the study period, they would be excluded. Now coming to the study procedure, the eligibility criteria would be evaluated. Pediatrician's opinion would be taken. Detailed parental counseling and consent for study would be taken. Anterior segment evaluation with bright light would be done. Pupillary dilatation with ROP dilating drops. Recording of demographic and perinatal details. Patient would be advised to avoid breastfeeding 30 minutes prior to eye examination. Application of topical anesthetics in each conjunctiva. Ensure that the baby is well wrapped, pulse oximeter is on, and all vital parameters of the baby are within normal range. All the eye examination would be done in presence of a pediatrician, pediatric nurse, or pediatric anesthetist. Insertion of the pediatric eye speculum. Fundus evaluation by a ROP trained ophthalmologist with indirect ophthalmoscopy, followed by imaging with pediatric retina imaging device by a photographer or ophthalmologist, one eye at a time. The aim would be to image the posterior pole, the superior, inferior, temporal, superotemporal, superonasal, inferotemporal, and inferonasal quadrant, either in one go or in multiple different quadrant imaging. The procedure would be repeated for the other eye. Application of antibiotic solution, 1 drop in each eye. Recheck the vitals of the baby. Now, the sequence of examination would be, the first examination would be done within 2 weeks of birth, variably thereafter, development of ROP, and a variable period thereafter up to 6 weeks. The systemic status and weight of the baby would be recorded at each visit. Babies requiring treatment would be treated at any point of time as per the ETROP guidelines. The eye would be to those who developed the disease, who did not. The frequency of various retinal changes between the group with and without retinopathy would be analyzed and compared. The strength of association of a particular observation and the disease development would be assessed with appropriate statistical tests. The serial images would be analyzed under the following headings: stoppage of vascular growth, vascular loops and arcading, if any, terminal hyperacute branching or non-dichotomous branching of vessels, vascular crowding at periphery, color of retina, slow rate of vascular growth, presence of hyaloid, vascular dilatation and tortuosity, and any atypical observation found. The estimated sample size would be 88 preterm babies. The outcome measures would be to analyze various observed retinal and retinal vascular changes with respect to development of ROP. This is my consent form and consent document. Yes, thank you.
Should I just go back to your consent? No? Second, next page. Where we have written the procedure per se. Yeah.
Yes.
Conduct evaluation. Okay, so first and foremost, I mean, I think it's a nice study because we're dealing with extremely small, patients. So this is, and our center does a lot of work on ROPs. I'm quite, happy that you've chosen this particular subject. And these biomarkers, if we can actually predict those, so we've already done some work. Now, more, keeping the study apart, since we are basically talking about how well you're writing your protocol, you have very clearly described that it will be an indirect ophthalmoscopy. But along with that, you're also going to be doing imaging, right?
Yes.
So, but you haven't mentioned any details about what device you're using for imaging. So it's very important because, no, but you have to mention that because these are infants and that are premature infants. And actually, when for a lay person and especially for a parent who's looking at their child being imaged, it looks, pretty violent because the child will be howling. You would have put a speculum. You'll be putting something that actually touches the eye. So those things, especially in a consent, have to be mentioned. Okay, even in your methodology, you have to actually mention which device you're using. So which device would you be using?
We'll be using a REDCam imaging.
REDCam. So you'll have to write there what is REDCam, how is REDCam imaging done in your methodology, whether it's a contact, non-contact, and if you do REDCam, will you be comparing it with your indirect ophthalmoscopy? Right. So, you're looking at biomarkers. So you'll also be seeing, right, if you miss anything on indirect ophthalmoscopy, because again, with REDCam, are you doing only one image or are you going to steer the handpiece above superior, inferior, middle and lateral so that you get the entire eye? Because with REDCam, you won't get, right? What is the degree of view that you get with REDCam? What is the field of view? If you're going to be using REDCam, you should know all this, Chirag. So you'll have to mention the methodology very clearly here. Okay, indirect, of course, you don't need to explain much. It's non-contact and most of the people will know, and patients also will not get very worried as far as indirect goes. But when you're using a contact instrument, you have to explain in the consent and in your methodology. Okay. And since you're also doing a comparison, since you're doing two types, one is indirect, which is ideally the gold standard, but imaging and its documentation is very important because now ROP has become very medico-legal field. So all your documentation on images is extremely important because the patient's parents might come back later, and it is that there's a lot of litigation going on as far as ROP is concerned, that my child wasn't treated on time and therefore led to a blinding condition. So since that's all, that imaging is extremely important, but you'll also can do a comparison as probably a sequel where you're looking at the biomarkers that you picked up on REDCam versus your indirect clinical examination. What other imaging devices are available other than REDCam?
Forus is also there.
What?
Forus device. Forus.
What's it called? Don't know.
That's a portable device. It's
called as Neo. It's an made in India device. I know it because we worked with Forus on this particular device. So that's okay. It's called as Neo. So some of centers may have Neo as well. So when you eventually want people to replicate your model, right? So when you mention it, it becomes easy in your methodology that the other devices or in your discussion that Neo is another device that's available that's similar to REDCam. Santosh, you want to add something?
Yes. See how you have calculated the number of samples. You mentioned 88.
Actually, we calculated based on the number of patients coming to some hospital. Like I've taken from the neonatologist their statistics data for 2019 year, and based on that we calculated it.
No, it may the number may be more or less, and how are you going to like compensate for that?
Pardon?
If the number is more or less,
Hmm.
how you are going to calculate the things according to the number you have fixed initially?
I think he's probably asking, have you considered, some patients may be lost to follow-up, they may not be available for a follow-up.
Yes,
Or
that
some-
is yeah. Since the study requires a long follow-up and a very regular follow-up, there might be a lot of attrition, but we'll compensate it by including more patients.
How many more you need to decide earlier.
Yes,
Okay.
because this is most the probability is more because you are
Yeah,
handling
yes.
with And what are the biomarkers you have included for the study? Specifically, you have to mention those things.
Yes, I've mentioned it over here. These will be the headings under which we would be evaluating the fundus.
Like you have told color of the retina.
Yes.
So, how you decide whether color in a ROP or a norm? I mean,
Yes,
vascularization
you know
as
what?
per the justice law.
Correct. What
These are
Santosh
not
is saying is very objective. You should have objective, criteria. Like
Yeah.
vascular loops and arcading is very objective, whereas color of the retina, when you look in clinically as against imaging, it's completely different. Again,
Yes.
when you look at slow rate of vascular growth, how do you know whether it's slow or not? Do you have some kind of markers wherein it has reached this zone, it has reached that zone? So each of your, especially because it's a biomarker, it can't be qualitative. It has to be very quantitative or objective when you're measuring. Where is, what is the extent of vascular dilatation? How many clock hours or how many clock hours of tortuosity? All that is very, very important, because otherwise when you're doing your scoring or you're doing your marking to see,
Yes.
this, eventually you have to come up with a score something, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have, like say vascular loops in this many clock hours, it's a very clear indication that this child is going on to develop ROP. Also, you have to correlate it with other systemic issues. See, all of these may be absent, but you will still see ROP. What is the reason for that? Have you ruled out all? You have put in exclusion criteria that whatever are the other systemic manifestations, because ROP is so vast. It may not necessarily, you may not get enough patients who do not have other systemic comorbidities, which is why probably Santosh's point is right regarding your sample size. In that much period of time, when you want to rule out all other systemic comorbidities except prematurity, it may be rather difficult for you to get that many kids.
Okay.
Can you also go back again to the informed consent document? The other one, yeah. So here, if I can just look at the purpose of the study, you mentioned prospective evaluation of fundus of babies at risk of ROP within 2 weeks of birth, right? For a lay person, all these terminologies, prospective evaluation, fundus, ROP, everything is new terminologies. So you need to explain in the layman term whenever you're writing an informed consent document, because the parent of the child is going to read it and they may not be aware of all these terminologies. So try to make it as user-friendly as possible, the consent document, right?
Okay.
Imagine, my suggestion is, imagine you have a friend who is a non-medico. How would you explain this informed consent document? Right in that language.
Okay.
That is what is called a vernacular language.
No, vernacular would be when he is writing in Odia or Hindi for the local population. Even in English, it has to be very,
Simple.
friendly and very simple. Every terminology that you mentioned must be
No, his
explained.
consent form also should be in the regional or vernacular language also.
Yes, it has to be in the regional language also.
Yes.
And more important, it should be simple. So it
Yeah.
can't be complicated language that somebody doesn't understand.
In,
Of course,
in
local
English,
language.
yeah, in English is a very simple layman's, I mean, non-medical language, and also in the regional or vernacular language, the consent terms should be. There are 2 points.
Also go back to another slide on the study period and study location. Okay, here in the location you've mentioned LVPI and a few neonatal intensive care units at Bhubaneswar. You have to be very clear how many neonatal care units are you looking at? I mean, which are the hospitals you will be targeting? You know, if you're thinking of 2 more neonatal
Add.
intensive care units, mention that. 5 more, mention that. Right?
Okay.
Also, the duration of study. You've mentioned the duration of study from November 2020 to April 2022. So have you already started the study?
Yes, I've started the study.
Okay. So this has already cleared the ethics approval?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Then that's fine. I just wanted to be
But
sure.
what is the minimum period of follow-up you have fixed?
Yeah.
There is no minimum period. Like we'll follow up the patient either till the retina is matured normally or till the baby has developed ROP. And then like once the baby developed ROP, then based on our discretion, either we'll follow it up to 6 weeks, any variable period, or we may not also once it's formed ROP.
No, see, clinically it may be like the retina matures, but as because you are doing a study, you should have a minimum follow-up period, irrespective of maturity of the retinal vessels, or clinically. So when we are seeing a ROP baby, we say yes. Now your vessels are fully formed. You are 40. You are more than 40 weeks post-gestational age. Now you may not come. That's all right. But when you are doing a study, you want to see, and you are comparing. That's why you should have a minimum period of follow-up.
Oh, okay.
Do you agree, Dr.
Yeah,
Natasha
I
and Chaitra?
Yes, a minimum period of follow-up must be mentioned. If that is there. Also, one more thing that let me just yeah. So in
One
the
thing, since
introduction,
you're talking about follow-up, just 1 second, Dr. Natasha. See,
yeah, sure.
somebody is talking in the background. Chirag, see, with how do ROP children get so-called discharge from the screening program is when the vascularization is complete, right? So it may be difficult for you to tell the duration of follow-up because each child, the vascularization till it reaches the periphery is different. So you can say the child is followed up till discharge from the screening program. Because once the vascularization has reached the periphery, then you know that there is no risk of ROP, so then you don't have to worry. Because it's very difficult to predict which child when. And then if a child eventually develops ROP, it will be important to know which are all the factors that came and the timeline in which you saw this. That also becomes very important. Yeah, Dr. Natasha, I'm done. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So
what I can't understand is what he wants to prove out of this study. What is the study question actually?
he's trying to identify
Because,
biomarkers.
because it is known that immature babies will develop, or there is chance of developing ROP. There is chance of developing ROP in immature babies. So what more? What is the novelty of this study?
I think he's trying to identify the biomarkers, right?
Biomarkers, imaging or biomarkers or retinal biomarkers, because we've also done a couple of studies like this where we're looking at the avascularity, actually the zone, how much is the extent of the avascularity. Not all patients who have very large areas of avascularity eventually develop ROP. In fact, we are doing some AI models also, which is showing vascular looping. That can be a predictor of development of the disease. So we are doing some AI models as well. So
I think these are to be specified also. What he is going to observe clinically are to be specified from the literature review. He has to find out what are the biomarkers
that he is going to study. It is to be specified, not clinically examining the photographs.
That is what I was trying to tell him.
Yes.
But what are the characteristics he is going to follow?
Yes,
in this
yes,
patient?
yes. That specificity, yes.
So that he can prove that these are the biomarkers that helps in predicting who are the babies who is going to develop ROP subsequently or
Yes,
during the study period.
yes.
Because the study question appears entirely something very non-specific.
Hmm.
So what are the biomarkers that you have to identify going through the literatures and specifically study for that? Something, because this looks very
So now he has started the study generalized. Beg.
But Santosh, I think is
So now as he has already started the study, he can, when he is writing his thesis, he can take note of these points and modify accordingly.
Because suppose when he is going to publish this as a paper, I think this has to be more specific. What he studied and what is the outcome that came out. Because what are the outcome variables he studied?
I think Chirag has taken note of these points.
Yes, sir.
Are you? Yes. So please take note, and when you are writing your thesis and in the studies, when you are carrying out the study also, please try to adhere to the points which all the experts have put in.
Can you
Otherwise,
please
Okay,
go
sir.
back to your introduction section, Chirag?
Yeah.
The last para of introduction.
Yeah. So you have given a lot of details about ROP in the introduction,
not needed.
right? All these information is not required in a thesis protocol. In a thesis, you will require, but not in a thesis protocol. In a thesis protocol, just 3 important things that you need to say: what is known, what is not known, and what is the rationale for your study. Why are you doing this study?
No, what is known about your study, not about ROP.
No, yeah,
Suppose,
not about ROP, but about your study. Whatever specific
suppose
question you
want to
have.
study the biomarkers, then what is known about that and what
Yeah.
is not known, that you want to explore out of your study. It
So
is not that you
introduction should
start
not be
writing
so detailed out with lots of background information about
regarding
the disease
ROP
per
are
se.
not required.
Yeah, I think that is about it. Overall, a good presentation, Chirag.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next one. Next, Dr. Isa.
All the best, Chirag. I think it'll be an interesting study as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good evening all. So my study is the efficacy of lacrimal gland botulinum toxin injection in intractable epiphora, a prospective case study in a tertiary eye care center. So my guide is Dr. Omega Priyadarshini in the Department of Oculoplasty in Dr. Agarwal's Eye Hospital, Cuttack. Coming to the introduction, epiphora is a condition where patient complains of watering eye, one of the common complaints in an oculoplasty clinic. The most common cause of epiphora is obstruction of the tear drainage system. The normal drainage of tears from the conjunctival sac into the nose is dependent on the patency of the nasolacrimal passages. This includes the lacrimal puncta, followed by the lacrimal canaliculi, the common canaliculus, the lacrimal sac, and the nasolacrimal duct, which opens into the inferior meatus of the nose. Epiphora thus results from the...
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for a minute? Can you go into the show mode, please?
Yeah.
Go into the presentation mode.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Epiphora thus results from blockage of any portion of this passage by inflammation, scarring, trauma, stone, or neoplasm. So the causes of epiphora, the most common cause being nasolacrimal duct obstruction. The surgical treatment for this is DCR and silicone stent intubation. For other causes, proximal canalicular block, common canalicular block, lower lid laxity, malposition of the lower lid, a functional epiphora, crocodile tear syndrome. For all these causes, lacrimal gland botulinum toxin injection can be given. The Botox injection blocks the presynaptic release of acetylcholine, which is required for tear secretion, into the neuromuscular end plates of cholinergic nerve fibers. This reduces the basal and reflex tear secretion. Coming to the review of literature, a study on botulinum toxin injection for treatment of epiphora and lacrimal outflow obstruction was done, in which the patients who had opted for surgery, had opted for Botox instead of surgery were taken. So the sample size was 22 eyes, 17 patients, mean age 70 years. Botox injection, 3.5 injections were given per eye. The interval between the two injections was 3 to 6 months. The mean Munk score was 3.4, range 2 to 4, improved significantly after giving injection to 1.6. Epiphora completely resolved in 1/5 and improved by about 60 to 90% in half. Temporary bruising and diplopia was reported in 12%. The second study on evaluation of efficacy and safety of botulinum toxin injection in treatment of epiphora, where the sample size was 20 patients, 2.5 international units per 0.1 ml of Botox injection was given. It was successful in 60% of the patients after first injection and 90% of the patients in second injection. Temporary ptosis was observed in 10% of the patients after first injection and 5% after second injection. The significant difference was there in values of the Schirmer's test, Munk score, DDT, and the tear meniscus height. Another study on botulinum neurotoxin injection in the treatment of epiphora was a retrospective study. 27 palpebral glands of 20 patients with mean age 65 were taken. 14 out of 27 cases were re-injected on as-need basis. 7 out of 27 cases were re-injected 3 times. 3 out of 27 cases 4 times, and 2 out of 27 cases 5 times. The Schirmer test measured a decrease in 89% of the glands after injection. The side effects were ptosis in 4 cases and transient esotropia in 2 cases. Another study on outcome of the lacrimal gland botulinum toxin injection in functional versus non-functional, where there were 2 groups divided into functional and non-functional epiphora. In non-functional epiphora, there was proximal canalicular block, common canalicular block, and the sample size was 37 eyes. The median pre-injection Munk scores in both the groups were grade 4. At 1 month, the median Munk score improved to 1 and 2 in the functional and non-functional groups respectively after receiving a median dose of 4 units of Botox. The median reduction in Munk score was 75% in functional group and 50% in the non-functional group. Side effect was transient growth. Coming to the aims and objectives of my study, the aim is to study the efficacy of botulinum toxin injection in lacrimal gland in patients of intractable epiphora. Objectives to assess the clinical outcomes of lacrimal gland botulinum toxin injection in patients who cannot undergo surgery for epiphora. Second, to study the efficacy of a repeated lacrimal gland botulinum toxin injection in reducing epiphora. Third, to assess patient response and compliance with Botox injections. Fourth, to check for complications post-Botox injection. The research questions. First, what are the indications of botulinum toxin injection in patients with epiphora? Second, what is the proportion of patients improving after giving 1 unit of injection? Third, how is the patient satisfaction after the injection? Fourth, what are the common side effects seen in patients after this procedure? The hypothesis is the intragranular injection of botulinum toxin in the palpebral lobe of lacrimal gland is a safe, effective, reliable, well-tolerated, and less invasive procedure than the surgical alternatives in treatment of epiphora.
Just a minute. Go to your question number 1.
Yes, sir.
So how are you going to prove what are the indications of botulinum toxin injection in patients with epiphora?
Sir, in case of proximal canalicular block or a common canalicular block, where DCR and silicone stent intubation will not be that much helpful because after removing the stent, there is reoccurrence. So in those cases where surgery has a high failure rate, in those cases we can do Botox.
No, you can do, but the question.
So you already know the indications, right?
You already know that. But
no, what is the success rate of doing Botox? Like there is a high failure rate with DCR.
No, that is correct. What you are saying, that is to be mentioned in research question. Then your research question is not that what you have written. Research question should be the success rate of Botox in this type of things.
Yes, sir.
Then two things are there in your study. Go back to the aim.
Okay.
Now there are two words in this. One is efficacy and the second is intractable epiphora. We have not mentioned in the introduction what do you mean by intractable epiphora.
Intractable epiphora, sir, is where
No, I
surgery.
don't want an answer for that. What I am asking you is, it is not mentioned in the introduction.
Yes.
Because
Also,
what is
can you
the,
can you tell me the whatever you've understood from the literature review? Just tell that in 2 sentences. What did you find from the literature review?
because again,
From the
efficacy also you have to be very careful when using these type of words, because these are not used as English literature. So in this health research, these terms carry different meaning.
Yeah.
So if you have mentioned efficacy, then the test study design becomes different. If you write effectiveness, again the design changes. So this also you have to be very careful in selecting these words. So you have to go through what do you mean by actually efficacy and whether you are going to test the efficacy, because you are not testing the efficacy. So you are injecting botulinum toxin, what has been advised or what from the literature, the quantity that you are going to use. So the more appropriate word will be the effectiveness of, and what is the strength and quantity of botulinum you are going to inject, that is also to be mentioned.
that I've mentioned in the materials and methodology.
That is to be mentioned in this thing. Second thing is this intractable epiphora you have to mention. Then go to Natasha Madam's question.
Yeah, here also one more thing I wanted to point out. You have mentioned that you will be studying the efficacy. Whereas in the objectives you have mentioned, you are going to check the complications post Botox injection. So you are going to check the safety also, right?
Yes, ma'am. That is one of the objectives.
No, then you have to mention that in the title also, or the
In the
aim,
aim, it will be efficacy and safety.
Efficacy
Both,
and
right?
safety. Okay.
Yeah, both. You are looking at both, right? Efficacy and safety.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Then again you have to find out what are the parameters you are using to assess these things, to assess efficacy.
Yes.
What are your outcome variables?
Yes, so
By
that
which,
will come in the materials.
no, that is correct, but we'll go to that. So all these study objectives, they have to be parameters to study that. So clinical outcome. So what are the parameters or what are the variables that you want to study for saying that clinical outcome is satisfactory or good or significant? Then study the efficacy of repeated lacrimal. Again, what do you mean by this repeated? How many times it is to be repeated? What
Yes,
is
how
the
many
strength?
times? Like, what is the patient satisfaction after giving one lacrimal gland?
So you have to go through SMART objective. Do you know what is SMART objective?
No, sir.
So objective has to be SMART: specific, measurable, accurate. Then last is time. That is to be. You just can't write anything that comes to your mind that I am going to study this.
Okay.
Then third thing, to assess patient response and compliance. How are you going to do this?
Yes, sir. With Monk score and that will be mentioned later on, pre-injection and
Okay,
post-injection.
next, go to the next thing.
Okay, I just wanted to understand, what is that you found in the literature review? Just 2 sentences about literature review.
To conduct this study.
Yes, so literature review, in some literature reviews, they have divided into functional and non-functional, and depending on that, they have studied the effectiveness.
So what did you find about the efficacy of botulinum toxin in these studies? Was it effective or was it not effective?
Yes, it was effective in most of the studies which I have mentioned. It was effective at up to 70 to 80%.
Okay, then why do you want to do another study? It's
I want to
already
see
proved
if
to be effective, right?
I want to see if any other parameter we can include to test. And also, I have started the study. So also what I have noticed is if when I do the Monk score, the patients can't actually tell the accurate Monk score. So like pre-injection and post-injection Monk score cannot be actually evaluated from the patients. They don't know how much the dabbing is there during the day. So that also can be a result that Monk score cannot be used to assess.
To verify also, you can do this type of study to verify what is there in the literature.
Yes.
But this is a secondary finding that you're getting from your study. This is not something that you primarily decided to study, right?
As in
So
the monk's course.
so the title will be effectiveness will be the more appropriate title than
Effectiveness. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Efficacy is something if you are doing for the first time novel, then you want to find out what is the. Okay, next.
Coming to the materials and methodology, study setting. Study will be conducted in OPD patients in Dr. Agarwal's Eye Hospital, Tertiary Eye Care Center in Cuttack. Study population. The study population includes patients presenting with epiphora to the OPD in Dr. Agarwal's Eye Hospital who will meet the inclusion criteria. Study duration. The study will be carried out for 2 years from 1st October 2020 to 1st December 2022. Study design. The study will be a prospective observation study which will be carried out in the outpatient department of Dr. Agarwal's Eye Hospital, Cuttack. Inclusion criteria, age more than 18 years, inoperable epiphora with high failure rate, common canalicular block, proximal canalicular block, lower lid laxity, malposition of lower lid, crocodile tear syndrome, functional epiphora, and thirdly, patients not wanting surgery. Exclusion criteria, all patients with previous hypersensitivity to botulinum toxin or human albumin, patients with neuromuscular junction disorders, patients with ocular motility defects, patients with motor neuropathies, patients with active ocular infections, women during pregnancy or lactation. Sample size.
Let me go back to this slide. Last slide. So you have to classify all your cases according to your this last slide. Last slide. In all these groups.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Here I just have one question. The most common cause of epiphora.
Yes, sir.
The most common cause of epiphora is like nasolacrimal duct obstruction, and it is not there in your inclusion or exclusion criteria. Either it has to be in exclusion criteria. It's not there. So show me that next one.
Yes. Nasolacrimal duct.
You need to exclude those patients, and that is the most common cause of epiphora.
Yes, sir.
First, you have to exclude that.
Yes.
Next.
Coming to the sample size, with justification, the total sample size comes out to be 34. Informed consent. All patients will be informed about the purpose of the study and the procedure done as per patient information sheet and the informed consent. Confidentiality. No information of the patient shall be disclosed to any non-medical person and confidentiality will be maintained. For data collection, data will be collected on different parameters in order to achieve the objectives of the study. Detailed history will be taken, age, sex, occupation, any other ocular disorders, operations, trauma, past surgery, any other systemic diseases, allergy, and family history of epiphora. Torchlight examination, direct and indirect pupillary reflex, ptosis, extraocular movements, any nerve palsy. Best corrected visual acuity, Snellen's chart at 6 feet distance. Intraocular pressure by Goldman applanation tonometry. Anterior segment examination by slit lamp, examining the lid position, punctal position, tear film, conjunctiva and cornea. Diagnostic ROPLAS, regurgitation on pressure over lacrimal sac test will be done to check for nasolacrimal duct obstruction. Lacrimal probing and syringing to know the site of obstruction, if any. Dye disappearance test, instilling a drop of 2% fluorescein sodium dye in the inferior fornix and assessment after 5 minutes to determine the tear meniscus height. Monk score according to the patient history of the times of dabbing per day. Schirmer's test, placing a strip of filter paper inside the inferior fornix. After 5 minutes, it will be removed and the amount of wetting of filter paper will be measured.
So all these tests will be done by you yourself only, or others, or others also?
I will do these tests. I've been doing. How many of the patients till now I've been doing these all tests.
No. I'm not asking that. I'm asking you whether you yourself are going to do all these things, or you will take care of others. optometrist or
For all the tests, yes, optometrist help will be taken.
then single one optometrist or multiple optometrists?
One single.
Then why I am asking you is there can be inter-observer variability with Schirmer's.
Schirmer's test only I will be doing, sir. For
So any other test, do you think
Even dye disappearance.
dye disappearance also there will be inter-observer variability? Then you have to decide one observer for your study purpose.
Yes, sir. I am doing all
No.
three
You
tests.
can do. The second thing is, if you are going to take the help of optometrist, then you have to select one.
So
to get a good-
optometrist is only for the BCVA, that best corrected visual.
Okay,
for
rest
dry
of the things you will
refraction.
do.
Yes, sir.
No, that is correct. Then if there is one observer, then there is no chance of no possibility of inter-observer variability.
Yes.
If you are employing more number of observers, then you have to look for that also.
Yes.
Okay, next.
In the detailed history section, Isha,
Yes.
you've mentioned operations 1 and past surgery. Are these the same thing, or are you mentioning operations for ocular operations and past surgery
Ocular.
for?
Past surgery is ocular, operations any other heart surgeries or any other.
How it is going to affect your study? After surgery in any other part of the body?
Sir, in any
There will be
sir,
more
in any
lacrimation.
no, sir. Like it would affect if I was doing a study on DCR, it would have affected. Like
Yes.
to know if the patient has done any heart surgery before, if the study was surgical.
Better to remove the word operations from
Yeah.
the history.
Yes.
Surgery
Yes.
is okay, all right.
Past surgery will cover both ocular and
Both,
non-ocular
yes.
surgeries.
Yes.
Okay. Botox injection, botulinum toxin injection given in the palpebral lobe of the lacrimal gland in the OPD. It is performed under topical anesthesia, proparacaine 0.5%. Upper eyelid is manually averted and the patient is asked to look inferomedially. 0.1 ml of Botox, 2.5 international units per 0.1 ml is given in the palpebral lobe via a 30 gauge tuberculin syringe under slit lamp view transconjunctivally. All patients will be prescribed artificial teardrops and are asked for follow-up after 1 month and 3 months.
This 12, 13, 14 for all these things or this one?
So that is the bibliography.
No, that is correct. I
For
understand
everything
that.
or only?
But everything, this 12, 13, 14.
Everything. Oh,
Then it should come at the beginning.
injection.
No,
Then
again
it
you have to specify because where from you got this dose.
Yes.
Oh.
Where from you got this dose, you have to specify that. You cannot decide on
Yes.
that this is the dose I decided.
Previous
Also
No,
note
sir,
the
previous
note the verb tense. If this is how you've put in your protocol, the verbs has to be all in future tense, right?
Yes.
Here you've written this is
Yes.
performed, this is manually everted, and then you're saying the patients will be prescribed artificial teardrops. So everything has to be future because the protocol is prepared before you even start enrolling your first patient.
Yes. Okay.
Then where is your parameter to study the effectiveness, clinical effectiveness? Only Schirmer.
No, Schirmer test, dye disappearance test, Monk score, and tear meniscus height.
So what you are going to do?
These
Compare
four I
before.
have decided till now.
No. What
A
you have
pre-injection
decided?
and post-injection.
So comparison.
Yes,
There
pre-injection
is a
and
comparison.
post-injection. Post-injection
No,
follow-up
that is
after 1
correct.
month
I
and 3 months.
am not asking you, but what you are doing is that is to be mentioned. So what is your study design?
Yes.
When you are
Sir, I'll be-
comparing the effect, and what is your
Yes,
study
sir.
design you have mentioned? What is your study design?
Sir, I've mentioned it as prospective study because
Prospective is all right because you are following up those cases.
yes, follow-up of the cases.
Then you have mentioned observational. That is also correct. You are going to observe.
Observe.
Then
And then
you are going to analyze also, compare.
compare.
So So when you are going to compare, then what type of study design it has to be? Because your statistical tests will depend on that.
Yes, sir.
So what are the statistical tests that you are going to use to justify your
Sir,
result?
currently there are statistical tests. A paired T test can be used.
No, I'm not asking that. You have to take the help of a statistician at this stage. They can only guide you.
Biostatistics. Yes, sir. Yes.
They will guide you
Yes.
that what are the parameters you have to take and what are the tests that will be applicable and how to collect, how to record your data also. Otherwise, if you will
Yes.
collect data in your own way, and that will be very difficult to prove statistically. So all your parameter outcome variables that you are going to, so there are three core objective you had. One is the
Yes.
effectiveness, let us take. Second is the complication. Say what you are going to study for complication.
Transient drooping of the eyelid in some patients, or
No, then I am not asking you this. Then you have to mention this. So these are the complications that I am going to observe. Third thing is your second objective is?
sir, repeated
Four
Botox
objectives.
injection. Repeated Botox, the efficacy of effectiveness of repeated Botox injection.
Then repeated
Yes.
Botox. So what are the parameters you are going to take a failure in the past?
Oh.
Then how will you decide to whom to give repeat injection?
If the Monk's score doesn't
No, my
decrease to
purpose
1
of asking all these questions is your four objectives becoming too much and too complicated for this study.
Okay, sir. So I can make it.
You have to reduce
two
your
objectives.
study, as Madam Natasha Madam told, the effectiveness and the safety.
Yes.
So you can have two objectives, one primary and the other secondary objective, so that your parameters will be less and will be very easy to interpret also.
And each parameter has to be very specific.
Yes.
So in the cases that didn't respond to fast, you put it as a failure. So you will do another study to do this, to prove this objective.
Yes.
Because
There was one message. Sorry, there was one chat message from Dr. Deshinayak who was saying that for BCVA you need to mention 6 meters or 6. Yeah.
Go back to your previous slides where you have material method and assessment.
Previous slide where you had mentioned about this one here. Yeah, she's mentioned 6 feet.
6 feet distance is wrong.
Yeah, so she's mentioned that.
In this chat, at 6 feet is wrong.
6 meters.
6 meter.
6 meters.
If
That is a mistake on my part. Sorry.
Yeah.
6 meters. Thank you.
So how you are going to select all these patients from an BGOPD?
Patients mainly complaining of constant tearing, watering, and those who have complained of tearing, and those who have high failure rate with surgery. So those patients will be selected, and those who are ready for they'll be explained about the entire procedure, about the injection, Botox injection, along with the risks, and if they're ready, then given the OPD only.
But in all the literatures that you reviewed showed us, there is complication. Ptosis is there in all the cases. Out of 20, there were 4 ptosis.
So the ptosis was 12% in one of the literature reviews. Yes, the ptosis.
No, that is correct. In one literature that you showed, there are 20 cases, and in 4 there was ptosis. So the ptosis.
But temporary ptosis, it is not permanent. So that the patient will be explained about before the injection.
No, it is not the patient, not the patient. What I am asking about is the ethical thing. How ethical it is to do a procedure which has 25% complication rate.
So not 25%.
4 out of 20 is there in that literature. Previous one, back. This
Sir,
one.
temporary
This. No, the next one.
Yes, sir. 10% of the patients after first injection and 5% after second injection.
In another, there were 4 doses. Next, this one, 4 out of 20.
7.
No, in gland of 20 patients.
27
No,
glands.
27 glands, but patients were 20.
20.
And doses in 4.
4, not 4 patients, 4 glands.
4 cases it is mentioned, 4 cases.
4 glands.
So 4 cases
4
would be 4
glands ki
eyes or
ptosis.
4 ptosis is eyes, right? Not gland.
Ptosis in eyes, not ptosis in gland. What is
4 cases.
So an injection causing 25% complication. How can the ethical committee will give approval to this?
Sir, it is
You have
only
mentioned
one
you
of
are
the
starting in
studies.
October
Yes.
2020.
Yes.
It's already
Yes.
gone. Have you taken ethical committee's approval?
Yes, sir.
No, but thing that is
At
correct. You have
Chennai?
taken approval, but do you think it is ethical when there is a complication
Sir,
rate of
actually, it is only in one of the studies. Like most of the studies I saw, the side effects were almost nil. So,
Then why you have mentioned this? Why you have referred to this literature? Then why you have referred to this literature? You found something relevant in this.
sir, there were repeated injections given in this literature, so I wanted to know.
No, that is correct, but repeated injection again has to be specified. You just go on, you can't go on giving repeated injections till somebody develops ptosis.
To know about the complications, or to tell the patients.
No, that is correct. Then you have to read, find out after how many injections this ptosis develop. That will also help you in deciding that I have decided to give only 1 injection and to study the effectiveness. This will help you in deciding this literature that in repeated injection there is chances of ptosis is more.
Yes.
So this will help you to decide that I have decided to study the effectiveness and safety profile of botulinum in single injection. You don't go for repeated injection in your study.
Yes.
When there is chances of complications is 25% after repeat injection or something.
Yes.
Then you have to be very clear in your mind what you are going to do, what are the ethical concerns. Now, the very purpose of why you are discussing is not to finding fault in your protocol.
Yes. Yeah.
It is to give you an idea how to have a scientific thinking. And scientific thinking is always within ethics. No harm. The principle is do no harm.
Yes.
That is the first principle of any research, health research in human beings. So you have to justify that your procedure is not going to harm to any individual in any way. Even if suppose you justify that ptosis is temporary, then also you have to mention what is that temporary means. Within how many days that becomes normal or that resolves. Because these are the ethical concerns are very important while we are doing any study. It's not particularly for this study. Whatever study we do. Okay.
Okay.
Then you use this literature for that purpose.
Yes.
When you go through again this literature, these 4 cases, when they develop, after first injection or after repeated injection. Then you can justify that I am doing a study in first injection.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Revise. And how do you think that is discussion helped you in which manner?
Yes, sir. It helped a lot. To specifically actually to reduce down my objectives because it was.
Number 1. Second is you rethink about your study design. You
Yes,
rethink about your title.
Yes. Effectiveness
And
instead of
effectiveness. You rethink about your introduction where you can put it. What do you mean by intractable epiphora? Because that is not a common term used by the clinicians.
Yes.
So this is a term. This is a term manufactured by you only.
Inclusion, exclusion criteria, material method. I think every section we have made.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So because your title has to be very specific, you can't put any term of your liking because it is there in your title, intractable epipora.
Yes, sir. I'll
There is
explain
no-
it in the introduction.
Number one. Second, also you have to again justify that where from you got that term.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Or if you have thought of that for the first time, then you have to justify what are the things for which you are going to label these epipora cases are.
Yes, intractable. Yes. Inoculum.
Okay. No, you
Yes.
can start a term on your thing, but that you have to justify that these are the cases I thought are to be
Yes,
called
okay, sir.
henceforth. After studying your paper, everybody with this type of epipora will term them as
I would say I would have a little different opinion. I would say she can continue to have multiple objectives in a single study, but she needs to identify which is her primary objective. And you can have, multiple secondary and tertiary objectives also.
Yes.
But your primary objectives must be clearly mentioned.
One. Primary objective is one.
Primarily, you're
Okay,
doing it
sir.
for this. Then there is a secondary thing that you may try to find out, right?
Yes.
no. The problem is with secondary and tertiary objectives, she has to also decide what are the parameters she has to go study
she
for
has
that.
That has to be very clear.
Now, why I
Yes,
told
the
her is because the
parameters.
parameters were not there.
Yeah.
That's why I told to reduce her objective.
sir.
It is not that I told her to reduce the objective because she has not yet decided about the parameters that is to be studied for recurrent injections.
Okay.
Then
Yes,
in
sir.
which cases she will decide to go for second injection, then third injection. All those
So it
parameters.
should not be like that. You cannot have multiple objectives. You can have multiple objectives, but
Yes,
each objective must be very clear.
My point for her to restrict to 2 objectives is because she has not yet decided what are the parameters to be studied for those objectives.
Yes.
And deciding that also will be very difficult for her.
Yes.
She is not at that stage to decide the parameters for those objectives. So when
How many
she will-
patients have you already enrolled in this study, Isha?
Till now, I've got 5 patients.
Okay. And your sample size is
Since
34,
October,
you
5
said.
patients. 34, yes. Yes, ma'am.
So
And you're taking into account people who may be
It
lost.
can be more.
Okay. That is the minimum sample size.
It can be more also. Yes, minimum is 34.
I think we are done. Any
Yes.
other questions that you have?
So right. I think should we go for the third one or we'll keep it for the next?
It's already 9:15, sir.
Yes. Chaitra has already left also.
No, the last one we had discussed earlier. Then what we want to know is what modifications she did to that to her study, to her protocol.
Okay.
Here also, I would just want to point out one small thing for Isha. I was just checking the original thesis protocol that was shared with me, not the PPT, the original Word document that was shared with me. In the review of
Yes,
literature,
yes, ma'am,
there
yes.
were around 3-4 sentences which were plagiarized from the source document. No, though you have tried to change most of the sentences, just a couple of sentences here or there. Also, if they are caught, it would land you in trouble. So better to rewrite everything in your own words.
Okay.
So when you write the thesis,
Yes.
remember to do that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So what we sincerely want is a good paper should come out of your study. If you are putting so much of effort into this study, so it should ultimately be a good publishable paper.
So you never know. After few years, they might say that that if you want to sit for your PG entrance, you have to have a published paper.
Yes.
Some universities have that rule.
Yes.
Pratibha, would
So
you like
should we go for the third one or we should close
Yeah.
now?
Pratibha, in short, she will finish up. Dr. Pratibha, I think she has already presented last time.
Yes.
As Dr. Patnaik said that she
So
will
what are the changes? What are the changes she made?
changes she has
to,
done.
Then she can
Yes, sir.
present. Start sharing, Pratibha.
Yes, sir.
Then
Yes, sir.
it is better that if you could have highlighted the changes.
Yeah.
So 1 minute, sir. Sir, there is some network error, sir. Please give me 1 minute. Sir, I'm sharing my screen now.
Yes, yes,
Sir, is it visible?
yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I have made some changes. Sir, in this case, I have added some inclusion and exclusion criteria. Sir, you have to already told me to add. Sir, I have added this one. That is, my inclusion criteria include high refractive error, especially the myopia of more than 10 diopter, patients more than 18 years with stable power of eye, anterior chamber depth more than 2.9 mm, and endothelial cell count more than 2000, IOP more than 20, and patients not suitable for LASIK surgery due to thin cornea. And I have also made some changes in the exclusion criteria. I have included retinal diseases that are potentially vision impairing, including the macular degeneration, peripheral degeneration, and retinal breaks, and occupational night drivers, high IOP, and uveitis. And
No, but
as
why you have mentioned high refractive error? You could have put high myopia more than or myopia more than 10 diopter. Why it is high refractive error, especially myopia? All are myopics.
yes, so myopia more than 10 diopter. I mean
No,
to say,
no, that is correct. But myopia more than 10 diopter is enough, sufficient.
okay, sir.
Why should have this thing? High refractive error, especially.
Okay, sir. I will correct. And in the methodology section, I have made it into 3 parts. That is pre-operative evaluation, surgical procedure. Then I have made it the post-operative care and follow-up. And in case of the surgical procedure, I have explained the steps what is to be performed in the case of the patients. And in case of the post-operative care, as you have told, to add 6 weeks and 6 months to my studies, I have added it. I have made it 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 weeks, then 3 months and 6 months post-operative follow-up. And in case of the, then at the last, I have added the consent form also. 1 minute, I'm showing that. And this is the informed consent for surgery. This includes the consent for the surgery and local anesthesia. And at last, I have added another informed consent for participation in the study. Without disclosure of the identification of the patient. And this also includes the consent for the imaging of the patient. So that much changes I have made, and I am now in search of some good literature, sir. I am not getting actually some good literature. I have only got that one from IJO, one recent study in November 2020 on the clear lens extraction. I have seen that one only, sir.
And what does that mean? If you are not getting good literature, what does that mean actually? Not many have done this study.
Yes, sir.
Why? Why?
So only 2 studies I have seen that one
No,
is
that
on.
is correct. But why others have not done this study? Then go back to your study objective. What are your objectives?
Yes. So this is the aim is to find out the visual outcome after clearance extraction and PCL implantation, and my objective is the comparison of the pre-operative and the post-operative visual acuity of the patients.
Then why you took 6 months for follow-up?
Sir, I will also,
Like
sir,
visual acuity stabilizes at maximum 6 weeks.
yes, sir. I have to see also about the complications after the surgery. So,
That you have not mentioned your study objective.
yes, sir. That way I will add it in secondary objective.
Yes, otherwise, if you will not add it in your objective, you cannot put it in your conclusion.
Okay, sir.
Because if you put this in your conclusion, suppose you found some complications,
Yes, sir.
then if it is not there in your objective, that will not be accepted.
Okay, sir.
I think
Yes, sir. I have to look after that.
see
Yes, sir.
you need to search for the related articles also, and there is a way how you go for your
Literature search.
topic of interest literature search. We have one entire presentation regarding that in the
So what are the maze terms
forum.
you use? What are the maze terms you use to do PubMed search for this particular article, for this particular topic?
Sir?
What is maze term?
Madam has already put in chat box how you are going to search. Natasha Madam has already put.
Okay, sir. Sir, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, so much for that.
Now I've added a Google Scholar link where there are many, literature on clear lens extraction in high myopia.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So just pick up that link and see, there will be many literature there.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So now tell us how this discussion helped you to revise your protocol, to revise or to give you the scientific thinking.
Yes, sir. It was very helpful to me because I am totally new to it and I didn't know how to write. And I will especially thank Natasha ma'am who told me bit by bit and she corrected me in every sentence, I guess. And she has helped me to complete it in a very few time. And
You're welcome.
And I am going to thank all the experts that they have helped me a lot to I otherwise I didn't able to know what is wrong, what is right, and how to write. I only copied from my seniors. They are writing, so I will write it. So
That is
so
correct.
Thank you for your frankness.
Our interest is to get a good publishable paper out of your study.
Rightly she said.
So you have to take care of that. You alone is not going to do this study.
yes, sir. I will take it.
Because along with you, there are so many people involved in your study.
Yes, sir.
So at any point of time, you can contact Natasha Madam, Dr. Santosh, anyone you feel like discussing, you can discuss, no problem.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We are
sir.
always there to help anyone who wants any support, any type of thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So ultimately,
Pratibha, this literature search that I've sent you, that link, it is only from the year 2017 onwards. So last 3-4 years only you will find there. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So
No
you
problem.
will have to search for literature beyond 2017 also.
Yes,
you can
ma'am.
take around 10 years of literature should be good. Don't go beyond 10 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So comments from any other speaker participants?
Analysts.
Ashok. Jayashree madam. Yes, Ashok.
ମୁଁ ଅଧାରେ ତ ଶୁଣିଛି ଆଉ 8:15-20 ବେଳକୁ 8:45 ବେଳକୁ ଥିଲି।
Okay.
No problem.
Jayashree madam.
Point that you told.
Yes, Ashok, go ahead.
डिस्कनेक्ट नहीं गला आशो भाई
No, he's there. He's there. I
No, no.
think.
अच्छा मते पचारନ୍ତି कोन कहया पे
आपण कोन कहउतिले गोटे आधार सुना गला तापर बंद हे गला
ना ना मु खाली से जो बोटॉक्स इंजेक्शन ए जो हेटा आधा सुनिची हेटा पूरा सुननी नताशा जहा कहउतले जे सेटा ठीक एक्चुअली मल्टीपल ऑब्जेक्टिव्स करी हबो बट इफ यू नो फ्रॉम प्रीवियस स्टडीज दैट the revision has to be done after so many days, then because it's a longitudinal study you can always do it for a year or so. In that case you cannot do a second stage study because second stage ला को कोन की यार इफेक्ट जाइकरी बहुत गैप हे जीवो when you plan for a second stage study. So आको जदी से longitudinal study करिवो for about 6 months or 1 year study करिवो ताहले previous references देखि करी जे केते परसेंटेज ये होची से देखि के से अनुसार she can plan from the beginning itself.
So actually at her level it is
Yes.
the efficacy or the effectiveness and the complication is good enough objective to do this study.
Right.
Any other comments from anyone else?
Jayashree madam.
Okay, we can close the discussion. It's 9:30 first.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thanks
Yes, sir.
Natasha madam taking so much of, at least we are all learning from you madam.
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Ajanta
sir.
Parma.
And our host,
Thank you, Ajanta
Hans.
Parma.
Answer thile bodhe.
Yeah. Santosh, finishing
sir,
words.
already it's done. There is no
Yeah.
formality to be done. We have already. Thank
No
you.
comments from Khan sir.
Okay.
How
The
is
thing
it?
is that you have asked all the other panelists, then I thought I should be quiet to listen them. Okay, please conclude. Next time I will tell you.
Right. Okay. Bye then. Bye. Good night.
Okay, good night. Thank you.